You've worked with many businesses. Can you talk about one that made the transformation?
Well, we work with a retailer, and this retailer was at a pivotal moment in their history that they had grown dramatically by opening a lot of new stores. Over the course of 7-8 years, they doubled up their store count, and that was their growth strategy, and they wanted to grow by opening new stores, and they were very successful at it, and they achieved their objective. At the time, they had a strong capability system around identifying where to locate stores, their market planning and research. They were great at actually developing the real estate, acquire the property, design the store, construct the store, and then open it up. They were great at recruiting, right? To be able to double up your store count means you have to double up your store managers, your assistant managers, employees in those stores. So they were great at recruiting. They were great at supply chain management, right? To be able to supply twice the volume of products through your supply chain, they had to manage it very efficiently. So they had a very strong capability system around market planning and research, real estate development, construction, training, recruiting, training, and supply chain management. But they achieved their strategy, right? They were run out of store space to actually buy and locate new stores. That growth strategy was expiring. So they wanted to focus on customer experience and to be able to get more out of their existing store base. Now, they made one big mistake. As they were approaching the tip of their growth curve, as they were slowing down their growth curve, they began to invest in store labor. They began to add more store labor in hopes that if we have more employees in our stores, they're going to have more time to support our customers. It's going to result in better experience. It's going to result in better revenue. It did not pan out that way. They added labor. Somehow the chain broke down. They did not get to more revenue. Either the labor did not deliver the experience, or the customers didn't care about the experience, or even if they cared about the experience, it didn't result in revenue. So they added cost, but they didn't get the revenue for it, and their profitability hurt. Their stock price suffered badly for it. And so they hired us to help them with a Fit for Growth transformation. So what do we do now? How do we get around this? And they were starting in a hole, right? Because they added labor, they had a high cost, and they didn't get the revenue. So they needed to cut costs, and then they needed to invest in growth at the same time. It's a double whammy, right? They were going to spend more money that they didn't have in the first place. So how do we take costs out from areas that matter less and invest in areas that matter more? The new strategy called for investing in their merchandising capabilities. How do they make sure they put the right products on the shelves in their stores so the customers like them and buy them? How do they price them right? How do they promote them right? They were investing in customer experience, customer insights, customer loyalty, and they were investing in their website to be able to serve the customers even if they're not in the stores. All that needed money to be able to invest in. So we work with them to take cost out from areas that matter less. We zero-based their headquarters. So the real estate department was much less important going forward. So we reduced the size of the real estate department. Eventually, they outsourced it, right? We also looked at all the other functions in the headquarters and process improvement, automation. We managed to get costs out of the headquarters. We worked with their suppliers, the indirect sourcing. They were able to take significant cost out by consolidating suppliers, doing better negotiating with suppliers, changing what they buy at lower cost. And now we addressed store labor. What are they doing in the stores? What's driven by the headquarters requirements versus what truly needs to happen? And doing all of that gave them a lot of free cash, about a quarter of which they invested into the new capabilities they needed. So that was one big change. The second aspect of this change was the field employees, the store employees, especially store managers. The emphasis was on customer experience, which meant employees in the stores need to serve customers a better way. So they invested heavily into training their store employees, especially their store managers, and some of the other key roles in the stores. They spent a lot of money. About a quarter of the investments they made were actually going into the stores to training their employees. They invested heavily into some of their physical stores. They remodeled their stores to make them more inviting, approachable for their customers. Now, one big change they also made was changing the way they measured their store managers. They used to be measured on, say, profitability and sales only. They started measuring them on customer experience as well, explicitly. And they trained them heavily on customer experience, and they changed the support system behind it. So this company that had suffered from a high cost situation, that needed new capabilities, was able to cut costs and invest in the growth and change their organization to drive a much more customer-centric organization that got more out of their store base. They're still going through the journey. They made a lot of progress. They've seen the fruits of the journey so far. But if you spoke to them, they would say they're halfway there, right? They're still learning. They're still looking for ways to improve their performance.
That's a great story. And they still kept the customer experience model
They
because
even
they
improved
really,
it.
yeah, they
They've
really
actually
felt
even
that was
improved it.
strong.
Yes, the customer experience, the way they measured it, has gone up by about 20-25% from a starting point. Yeah, so they're making significant improvement.